All right. Welcome to the BrainDrive Weekly Development Call live stream. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm Dave Jones, and I handle the technical side of the operations here.
Great. As I said, the mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. The foundation of that vision is the BrainDrive local AI system. This is our MIT licensed, self-hosted AI system. Everything you see here is running locally on my computer. If we weren't on a live stream, I could disconnect from the internet and I'm still able to chat. This model here is running locally here on my computer. So I'll just say, tell me another joke. If I could type. And this always runs a little slower when I'm on the Zoom, and I'm also on a hotel
Yeah.
internet connection. So hopefully the live stream continues to work as well. But this is going to bring up, as you can see here,
Yep.
this Quinn 3 latest local model. That's an 8 billion parameter model for anybody who's familiar with the Quinn models. Yeah, I don't know why, because I tried this right before that. There we go.
Yep.
All right. So this is completely locally, completely private. As I said, I could unplug the internet, but you're not limited to local models with BrainDrive. We also have an open router plugin that allows you to use any um, API-based models, and this includes the models from the big tech AI companies. So as you can see here, Opus 4.5 is the Anthropic model that runs in Claude that everybody's crazy about, and I can talk to that in my brain drive just as easily as I can talk to local models. But there's a big difference here. When you're using Claude, you're locked into Anthropic's ecosystem. When you're using BrainDrive, you're locked into your own ecosystem and you have the key. So you can create these different pages for different use cases, and it's not limited to just chat experiences. This is a game that Dave built. The sky's really the limit in terms of the interfaces and the AI powered games or assistants, executing tasks, etc. You can develop and launch your own plugins. You can use other people's plugins, and we have a one-click plugin installer. You can deploy on any GitHub or via zip file. You put the plugin right here. It shows up in your plugin manager, and then you can use our drag and drop page builder to create these custom pages and custom interfaces. So we've really tried to make it as easy as possible for anyone to own their own AI system. If you go to braindrive.ai, we have local installers for both Mac and Windows, as well as the command line instructions for installing BrainDrive. We have a lot more to show, but I've been going on. Like we have a RAG plugin
Yep.
that you can use. We have personas that allow you to create custom personalities and system prompts.
Yep.
I'll just show the RAG real quick. So I've got a collection here, BrainDrive, and I've got some documents related to BrainDrive. And let's just say, what is the mission of BrainDrive? I hope it's up to date in the document that I just uploaded.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
uh,
So anyway, live demo here. I have
yep.
to reinstall my whole brain drive every time we do one of these calls because we do so much testing and everything. I want to make sure that I have a clean version, and sometimes that leads to issues like this. But anyway, we also have a documentation site at docs.braindrive.ai where you can go. This is our plugin builder quick start. You can give that to your favorite coding agent, and you can be off to the races building plugins. And then our community at community.braindrive.ai, where you can go for support and to connect with other BrainDrive owners. Because with BrainDrive, you're not a user, you're an owner. So don't be a user of big tech AI systems, be an owner of your own AI system instead. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dave to give us the development update from last week, probably starting with some exciting recognition that BrainDrive got last week.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, what was it? November, I think it was. We entered the contest on local LLM on Reddit. Sasha, who's one of the mods there, was having a contest, and I think it was, if I recall, an innovation type contest.
Yep,
Um,
30-day local AI innovation contest.
yeah, I forget where I put the. let's go here. I'll go ahead and share so we can all see it. Oh, give me screen two. There we go. And share it. Boom. While everybody, of course, wants to be first place makes sense to me. Watch, just because you watch what Sasha talks about, he is heavily into training models. He's a big ML person, and no doubt with that came a person who had a project dealing with training. He won, but it is quite innovative what he did, so I don't take anything against their project at all. We did take second place, so hey, I take our hats off to us. We have been almost coding in the dark a little bit, just Dave and I talking about what we think people might like, what we might like. And to hit that close to the mark where we're at, I know for me was validation, very much so. And just seeing the thing pop up, we were hit second place. Had to have a cake day for that one, and just have fun with it. Because usually it's like anybody who codes, they know you're basically you competing with a little plastic box. And it's quite lonely, and there's a lot of bad. There are a lot of times you're hitting your head against a wall. So to have a moment to celebrate in the middle of it, I'll take it, and we'll move forward with it. That's for sure. So congratulations to Dave and me, and pretty much anybody who uses BrainDrive, because they're actually the real winners.
And we
When it,
won a well, pretty significant prize
yep,
too. The prizes for this contest were pretty out of this world. So a big
yeah,
shout out to Sasha for having such great prizes. But we won the NVIDIA Power, computer that's built for personal use, and I think we're going to be able to run BrainDrive on that and do some videos and everything, and really show what the
yep.
future of local AI can look like when consumer technology catches up. Which it always does with these more
And
powerful
yeah,
systems.
exactly. And the Spark is very handy because of we've talked about having BrainDrive Concierge, BrainDrive Concierge Code, these models that are specifically fine-tuned for against BrainDrive's code, so that when you say, "Hey, I want to build a plugin," or "I want to make BrainDrive mine," as in the core, you want to modify it and play with it. We had to have fine-tuned models, and that's what the Spark's really good for. That's where it really excels at is to take a smaller model or even a medium-sized model and fine tune it. That's where they're not really great inferencing machines. You can get better, from almost anything like a Mac and such. But when we get to them fine tuning conversations, now we'll have a piece of hardware for us to, instead of having a budget for it, we'll just run it. And if we have an idea, we'll fine tune a model and put it out there and let people play with it and see how close it gets to the mark. Because we do have Navaneeth right now working on a open code version for us to implement with building plugins. So perhaps we can get to the point where not only are we leveraging open code for this, but open code with one of our own models. And then it could become really all local. You could be on a mountain with no set reception whatsoever, no internet. And if you say, I have an idea for plugin, guess what? You could still do it then. And that was our goal from day one, just unplug the cord and being able to really let your imagination dictate what your experience will be. So we're pretty excited about that. Sasha's talked about a second contest. Don't know what it's going to be about, but I can guarantee you it doesn't matter if I got to start coding. We will, yeah, we'll have something. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah.
You
So,
want to stop sharing for a minute?
yep. Oh, there I am.
Yeah, so
Stop
really
sharing.
excited about that. We put a little badge on the website and also on our GitHub repo. So thanks again to Sasha, and we'll hopefully be able to help build out that local LLM Reddit as we continue to move forward with BrainDrive.
So next, let's get on to what we did last week. In fact, some of it was actually just done this morning. Dave has been playing his hand with vibe coding and not being a developer. That should always be stated right there because it's interesting. It was like he was doing really well until I seen the code. And then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Uh, it's because it's like not GitHub, Claude and Codex, they can do the code for you. But when it comes down to it, it's the how things fit together that if you do not code and develop software, you miss. And for this was like GitHub. How does GitHub fit into this and all like that? And especially the way BrainDrive's put together, Claude looked at it and it probably said, okay, I found your plugins. They're sitting over here. And it was looking only in the back end. And so it put all the changes that Dave wanted to implement into the actual plugin that's being loaded real time. And so there was no GitHub attached to it. It was raw
Ah,
code. It was raw code, as raw as it can get. And in the end, it was like this morning, it was like, okay, I got to save his changes. I had some changes of mine that were on a branch, so I was safe there. And this morning, I took a couple hours, and it was like, get his changes in, get my changes in, push the chat program plug-in to 27, so Dave can now use it and test it with his library code, and I get my fixes that I was working on in, and everybody should be happy.
okay,
Um,
let me tell you, and also anyone who's watching the live stream, what my goal was, and then you can tell me what should have been
mm,
done, what happened, and
mhm.
we'll use this as a learning
Yep.
opportunity for me. So, I use Claude Code right now to set up a local file system with all of our projects in it, all the context on BrainDrive, and sync that to GitHub. And that way, anytime I'm working on a project with a coding agent or whatever, not just myself, I can pop up Claude Code, and instead of having to explain everything, it accesses the file. It has all the context that we have there. We also have skills in place that help build out that context. So create an interview to figure out what the project is going to be and who it's going to serve and the user stories and all of that. Then create the spec off of that, then create the build plan off of that and these types of things. So it's all MD files and it's all a file system. And, in terms of agentic capabilities, relatively straightforward, I
Yep.
would think, compared to coding a big system like BrainDrive and other things that people can use these coding agents for. And we want to add agentic capabilities to BrainDrive so we can stop using big tech AI, for these agentic tasks and start using BrainDrive instead. Part of owning your own AI system is being able to do have these agentic capabilities, have your AI system execute on your behalf. And, we want to start providing that to BrainDrive owners. So I figure this is probably a great first use case. I'm
Yep.
also the first user, so I know what I want this to be. I talk about this to Dave and I said, should I try and build this? Okay. And he's like, why not?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So, so I'm like, great. So I get into this and it becomes clear that, something Dave already knew is right now we have the plugins system for BrainDrive works on the front end. So it
Mhm.
adds the front end user experience to BrainDrive and all the screens that you saw, the game, all that
Yep.
type of stuff to BrainDrive. But we don't currently have a plugin system for the back end. So to do these agentic capabilities, we need to add uh, API endpoints
Yep.
to the BrainDrive backend so that it can communicate with the local file system in this case, right? But that could be anything. And we could add those API endpoints to the back end of BrainDrive, but we're really trying to keep the back end
Yep.
as slim as possible because it's going to be easier to code that way.
Yep.
It's easier to own that way. It's not going to get bloated and push everything besides just a few core things as
Yep.
BrainDrive Core to the plugin ecosystem. And that makes it modifiable by anyone. And you don't have to work with us to get a pull request in. You can just build a plugin and you're off to the races,
And
right?
if
No,
somebody has a fancy feature and or idea they have and they break it, I'm probably key right here because I'm always like, oh, let's code this. And what if it doesn't work right? And we've seen this with other projects, and many people have. In doing something new and you're on the bleeding edge, you bleed. So if
right,
that breaks, everything else breaks. And instead
right,
of having that type of environment, the core runs, it's smooth. We want it in concrete as much as possible. And then you pick the plugin you want to run. And if somebody releases a plugin, let's say 1.1 as in the version, and it breaks, well, 1.9 still worked, and you could go back to it. You can still run your systems as you want without bleeding so much on these cutting edge software projects.
right. So in order for me to add all these endpoints, it's better to do that, most of that,
Yep.
as a plugin and not add a bunch of endpoints to the core for all the reasons that Dave just said. So this became a much bigger project than I was anticipating because we need to add this
Yep.
capability to add endpoints to the back end to the uh, to the core, right?
Yep.
Plugin based. Okay. So I just did a build plan for that and let Claude Code loose on it and wanted to just see what would happen. Okay, so I submitted two different pull requests, one for modularizing the backend, like I just
Yep.
talked about, and one for this BrainDrive library agentic capability and also the front end changes that need to happen in order for this to work,
Yep.
right? So you need to be able to select your file system from the chat interface, etc. Okay. So what I thought I did, but I had a very low confidence that this is actually what happened. It did work, you
It,
know what I mean? So is I thought I modularized the back end and added the library functionality to the front end. What did I actually do?
well, the first thing it did is it changed the get ignore because it wanted to see your plugins and it works through Git, everything like that. And it probably assumed that you had a mistake. And so it unhid the plugin directory in the backend. As soon as that happened, well, we had an introduction of 550 files to the whole thing. If you had pushed, but you didn't push, I just grabbed your branch, so like that, so that didn't happen. Um, and then from there, once it exposed that to itself and its own context window, it decided that, okay, this must be where all the plugins are gone when developing. And so
Oh,
it
I see.
start,
So let me say that
yep.
back to you. So in BrainDrive, a plugin is its own GitHub, it's its own separate thing.
Hmm.
Now it has to have the core to work, but
Yep.
it's its own separate thing.
Yes.
So when you're developing a plugin, you want to be on a separate repo building your plugin, and you want your coding agent to see the core, BrainDrive core, so it can work with it.
Yep.
But you don't want it to assume that these are one thing.
Yeah,
They're two
exactly. They're
separate
similar plugins.
things.
Yep.
They're
This
two
is why we
separate
have
things.
the plugin build directory. This is where all your source code and your repos of your plugins go.
Okay.
And that's where you change your code. And when I'm developing, I always tell it, it's like, hey, here's BrainDrive Core, so it knows where the front end and the back end is. And here's the plugin I'm working on. And that's in the plugin build. I never show it or direct it towards the build directory, which is the shared version. And that's in the back end.
Okay.
That's where users go. So like when the system install, you log in, or register as a new user, it creates you a directory in the plugins and it says, okay, here's your ID, here's all your information pertaining to you that needs to be actually here for plugins to work for you. And we keep a hold of your personal changes and such. And then in the shared directory is where it keeps the installed versions of plugins, not developed, installed. And so it's like, it's like, okay, this is where I start developing. And that's when everything just started going backwards for you right there. But the
Okay.
code was good. That was the thing. It was like, that's why I was like, I always go by, like when we had Beck working with us, it was like, the code's good. The output is what we want to see. So I don't want to F with that. I don't want to lose that. I have to get in there and clean that up though. And that's what I did is I took the plugin out. I got rid of all the noise that was happening, and then I pushed it into legit code as the legit repo as a branch. Had to play games and merge it into the system, because of course every AI wants to do some crazy stuff, and boom, then the lights came on, and it's like I'm working. I don't have Librarian installed, but it did everything that I would have expected without that.
Okay. So did this save you any time or
Well, only time we're going to know is when you get 27 down on when you update your brain drive chat and you say, okay, this is still working. Now we'll know if it saved us time. If you have an issue, don't fix it. Let me tell you what you need to tell it to know where to fix the problem.
got it?
And since I was in there, I went ahead with there's two build commands now, one for local, one for release, and it handles all for you, and that kind of thing. But I
Okay, but
think it's
I'm
good.
not hearing bit anything that we can't just fix the next time I use the
Yep,
coding agent, right?
correct, correct. We were it, chat wasn't all messed up. It was fine. We were able to move forward.
In
I
other
don't.
words, like if I would have just set it up right from the beginning, I would have been good.
Yeah, if you had just set it up, this would have been 5 minutes, and no, if it no, I'd have been a normal like whenever you're doing like
And
your
then
readmes.
is the back end modularized now? So
Not
other
yet.
people.
Nope, nope. I haven't pushed that one. I was dealing with one. I'll call it messes, but
Okay, fine.
one issue at a time. The next thing now I need to go over and your modularized backend. I need to figure out your librarian because I wanted to ask. I didn't have a
All right,
chance to
we'll
ask
do
you.
that outside of this
Yep.
call.
Yeah. We have some cleaning up to do, but everything is moving in the right direction now. And so this is actually for me that learning moment of we need something in there to tell the user, no matter if they're devs or experienced or not, of hey, this is where you work at in the BrainDrive build. That's why it's in the git ignore and it's there for a reason. And this is how you build your repos there so you can actually use them. And this is where you direct your AI to work. And
Got it.
if we have an agent file that's handling it for us, then we don't worry about it anymore.
Well,
But
that needs
just
to be in the plugin development
yep,
quick start, so I'll add it.
yep. Just a learning curve, not just for you, for me, for everybody. So we know what to watch out for, and we just get better code at the end.
Great. Let's move on.
Okay, so next, we have Navaneeth working on what we call now BrainDrive code, and he is I guess progressing. That's what we're going to call it. We'll see it tomorrow. But when we talked to him on Friday, I think it was, everything's moving forward as we had expected at this point. So there's no reason to think otherwise.
And what is Brain Drive
That's what I was
code?
getting ready. BrainDrive code is our tool that's going to allow us and other users the ability to go, hey, I have a plugin idea. I don't code though. That's the thing. And it's like, and we have watched the coding tools come available from the point of 3.5 on ChatGPT when they sucked and you couldn't depend upon them for nothing to a point now where they can solve 80-85% of the problems for you one shot. And that for me, especially in my opinion, but us, um, this is the time to do these tools now, not waiting until it's 90%. Now it's like, well, because even if you're a skilled coder, I have an idea. Boom. All of a sudden, you went from zero done to 80% done, and you take it the rest of the way or done all the way. That's a gold mine right there. So when now people who get introduced to BrainDrive, they're like, oh my God, this is great. I have an idea for a plugin. It isn't, I got to find a developer or anything like that. It's, hey, let me work on the description of the tool I want. Let me, take a little time, get it right. Because the better that description of what you want to happen, it will happen. Press enter, go get some coffee, come back, and there'll be this little download for you. And the download you take to your plugin manager. We have a local install where you would drag and drop the zip file over to it and install it. And you'll be like, oh my God, I'm a developer. And you can ask Dave what that's like if you've never done it before. But me, I love it. It's like my little baby child right there. It's growing up now. He's doing something. He's doing somersaults. He's great.
Cool.
But that's BrainDrive code, in a nutshell. And kind of like we're at the infancy of really developing AI tools to accomplish very specific tasks, because then the achievable chance of success can be really measured and achieved, in my opinion, versus the let's do everything mentality. And that's when we get to let's do everything. That's where we get into Foundry. Um, and I can go and share so we can see what that looks like.
And
Where
what
we're
is
at.
Foundry?
Foundry is the let's do everything mentality. Um,
So I would say Brain Drive, your user-owned AI system.
yep,
Brain Drive code, build plugins for your user-owned AI system that can run locally, right?
yep,
And then Brain Drive Foundry is the development system that we're using as a core team to build Brain Drive,
yes.
which is a much more sophisticated engine. And but you are going to be able to use this to really build anything. I mean, we're going to
You,
use it to build Brain Drive,
yep.
but anyone who's used these coding tools knows how overwhelming it can get to have all the different tabs up and everything, and you get lost. And so this is Dave's vision for how to manage all that.
Yeah, and because I use VS Code. I love it. However, I am spending a lot of time on one browser, and like everybody, when you're actually watching something churn, you forget about the other things in the background you have churning. And I've caught myself wasting as much as an hour, 2 hours because I didn't think about it. It was like, oh my God, try if I had that working. And so the ability to see your entire agentic coding mission or environment in one view is the goal of this. And the ability to easily see where are you at? Are you stuck on something? The ability to change. And that's going to take a lot of hit and misses to get there from what I've been playing with. But I've also had some amazing success. And anybody who's played with little things like the Ralph Wiggins loop that came out just recently, knows at you if you've had to experience it because I'd seen the difference of codecs when you have one iteration on a plan and it has multiple iterations with a plan. It's for some reason it jumps that coding success margin by at least 5% for me because it's like it goes through, it checks, it's wrong, and instead of just going, okay, I'm done right then, because that's what almost every AI model does, it has already a task to I was wrong. Let's fix that. That goes to iteration number two. It doesn't start from scratch. It says, I already have a lot of code. Let's test it again. Okay, this is wrong. Now let's fix this. And it goes right into debugging mode basically for itself. And when you start adding MCP servers like Playwright and context memory, it really could start expanding because then you go from a team of just me managing multiple interfaces. Now it's me managing one interface with multiple agents working at a single instance. And we haven't got quite there, but we are close enough where I can show you easily the direction in what we're going. Um, so this is my little dashboard that I have growing right now. And this will be just at a spotlight where somebody can see exactly what's going on. And I'll go through the different naming conventions really quick. Foundry, that is what I call the interface you're seeing right now. It has a React front end and a fast API Python backend. I simply use, I believe I'm using SQLite right now for my DB. There's not a lot of, this is where the user-facing data goes. It doesn't keep code. It keeps tokens, like in the case of for GitHub. I currently use the PAT tokens. It will be adjusted to use application tokens once this gets a little bit measured so it can have a life of its own a little better with applications. But it's like we're walking right now. We're not quite at a crawl. We're crawling really, not at a walk or a run. Now from here, we walk into Fulcrum. A Fulcrum, like in my environment, I have multiple servers and I put Fulcrum on one of my servers, and then what it does, it handles the communication between Foundry and the coding servers. And it's basically, there's no data there except for a pass through. What it does, I send it out and I say, hey, I want to talk to one of our agents doing work. And it says, okay, you want to talk to this person. And I just route the code there, and it handles health. It does all the jobs that I don't want to do myself. It does them for me. And then on the layer behind that, which actually doing the work, I call forges. And forges are basically the AI that's running through the tasks and finishing them and then handing them back so the user can verify or do whatever they want to do after that point. So when we get to Fulcrum servers, basically, this is how once I have it set up on wherever I want it to, I can simply come here. I can put this in, and no screens right now are done or even close to done. This is so that I can easily work with them, see everything, and then I'll figure out what I hide, and what a user doesn't need to see. Um, but yeah, I just simply put the name in here, such as this one. This is where the server exists, the port that it's on, and I have 3 Forge servers that sit on it, and they're not doing anything right now. This gets into that really quick. I can see what my environment's doing without having to check in tabs, terminals. I don't even need a console up at this point. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It'll let me know if it's down or if it's running things and how many things it's run today. Not all of these little catches like runs are done because I was working with it this morning. It didn't keep track of that or anything I did over the weekend. But like I said, this is more for me to see the information and then what pieces I need to finish up doing. Um, from there, let's go into, you have Git projects. Part of this is eventually automation, where I have a project such as I actually put this on the Infinite Craft game. I put a little issue there. I wanted to make sure that it's populating like it should so I can get the information out. I can take this information and create a request from it. So I can go right here, just click it, and it puts all the information from the issue that was given. So if the user actually gave more than what I gave, that would be great. But if not, let's say, because I know the context, I can sit here and add additional information and say, hey, this is what it really is talking about. This is what we need to do. And then from this point, a little more work. I just did the get skills necessary. Now I need to go into testing because for this to work right, what needs to happen then is for the Forge server needs to say, okay, I got to use my Git commands, and it needs to clone the repo down, take the context, look at it now, verify that it's the same, and then from that context of the code, determine this is what the user wanted. Let me build the task now. So what it does, it takes your description and creates multiple tasks based on what your description was and the code is, and then it says, okay, and we'll, in fact, we'll close out of there. We will go to the task manager now. And this is what the tasks look like when it's given back. And it outlines everything it's going to do. This is a bad one because, like I said, I don't have the Git working. But we can come here to the, oh, and this is not displaying. Okay. um, The problem here was when I was doing it originally, I wasn't saving the PRD for it to be viewed later. And once it trashes the environment, it's no longer viewable. So just little things, like I said, we're correcting it, we're fixing it. But you could come in here, let's say it created a task you didn't like, or it gave a description you're like that. This gives you another chance to change, edit, add. If you notice a test, like say the testing for it wasn't actually up to what you wanted, you could put a test in there and say, no, do this. Or good example, playwright. When you get this far and you finish, show me a screenshot. Those kind of coding implements I want to see happening because then I don't have to see anything at all. I just have to wait for certain triggers to hit. It'll show me it's on task 3. I get a screenshot. I look at it and go, okay, you're on track. Keep going. But that is the gist of what Foundry is going to be about. And this way, if you are using BrainDrive, the skills will be there so it can easily go, I want to change something in BrainDrive. Let's say you wanted to white label it. Everybody, that'll probably be the first thing, until we have a plugin, but you could say, hey, I want to add my own logo. I want to add my own information here. How do I do this? Or not, how about just do it? Here's the logo. Here's the text I want here, and you give it the task, and what it'll do instantly, it'll download or clone BrainDrive in its entirety. It'll look through it for what it needs to do. It'll give you a list of those tasks here, and then you say go, and that would be run task, and then you go have breakfast because it'll run through everything, it'll test it, it'll validate it, and then when it's done, so far I've been banking pretty high on what this thing accomplishes as far as my tests go. So it's just now it's like I know Forge works. I use it more than the outer because I use curl commands to access it, but slowly moving the bar away from that bullseye, which is I call Forge, so that now we can have a nice front end. You can start directing traffic from a front end. And once I get Git going, my next mission is that interface that Dave and I talked about on Friday. Probably nowhere, probably not posted as a recording like that, but that's where I want to see one interface or one screen. It will show all of my Fulcrum servers, and Fulcrum will then display all of my Forge agents. And easily within a view, I can tell what is green, what is red, what is yellow. I can tell if there's a screenshot available for me to look at. I can open it and you nope, you can't probably see it here. Let me see, just in case. I do not know what it's actually posted. Nope, probably. Yeah, there you go. It's still showing them. Good. Um, as you can see, when it does events, all the data is still tracked and saved so that I can go back through it. But it actually goes through and tells you everything it's doing. And if anytime you wanted to see what is this server doing, you can go through here, and this is in real time when it's actually really posting. And you can if you can read code, you're doing great because I know me and most developers, you can say, okay, I know you're running the Docker. I know you're building the website on a certain port based on the instructions. If it got the port wrong for some wild reason, you'd be able to see that in the moment. And this is where we get to where I want to see. I'll show you the Foundry test, um, where I can send input while it's running. So let's say I got the port wrong. I dyslexic. I put 9998, but I wanted 9999. I can sit here and I can tell it the ability to in a command say, hey, the port is wrong. We want to use 999. And what it'll do is it'll introduce the instructions into the Forge server running. And as it finishes the task, it always looks to see if it has an additional instruction to continue or to take a look at to change its direction. If it does, it will turn that instruction into additional PRD. It will add it to its list, and it'll continue forward. That way, you don't have to wait. You don't have to stop it, or God forbid, and it'll just go forward from there. But I have a lot of good things I want to see from this. I can tell you right now, it already works from a Forge standpoint, uh, and I'm pretty excited because this is going to allow me to do 9 things at once at the end of the day.
Cool.
Because
And when do we think we're going to be able to do 9 things at once?
Oh, I'm not sure. I got it because this week I need to spend a little time with BrainDrive. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Since um, there are things that we have to get done with BrainDrive. We were talking about that last week. We had a small list for RAG, and like your RAG didn't work. I want to know why because this thing should have been at a point now where it should have been
I
just
think I may have just not. Let me just try that again because I think I may have not had a model selected. Let me bring that back up and just give it one more
yep.
try. Because I went back and just did a tell me a joke and
Yeah.
it worked.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, last time it just aired on you instantly, so it was
Well, I
like,
think I didn't have a
yeah.
model selected, but it looks like this time it's not pulling from the rag.
Yep. Yeah, because it's doing this. Yeah, I've seen that result for. So, and go hit the plus sign. We'll do a little debugging just for my knowledge. Yep. Okay. So it should have been. And go to BrainDrive. Let's see. Go to Manage Documents. Yep. You have the white paper in there. So, yeah, like little things like that. Need to figure out why. No clue what, the
So
particulars.
you said spend a little time with BrainDrive. I'm getting kind of
Because
antsy to spend a lot of time with
Oh
BrainDrive.
yeah, no, well, because I have a list of things I want to finish working through, like getting this morning's cleaned up. We have the rag list, which I believe are 8 different items sitting on for our rag cleanup. And while I'm doing that, I want to take notes of I call it the workflow, because that's the workflow that has to be mimicked by Forge when it's operational. So I want to take that opportunity to go, okay, I'm doing the work, I'm writing it down, and then at the same time, then I can tell my AI, tell Jimmy, hey, adjust the Forge's workflow so that it can mimic this result. And we'll start putting the skills in place because we'll need BrainDrive skills. We need to wrap up the Git skills, so that Forge. And once it can start doing that, then I can start pawning off work to it and use it from the command line like I've been testing it. And then once I get that, then I can start branching out to the Foundry and mimic from an interface. You do the work. I'm going to turn my blind eye to you for a minute and see how, no training wheels type stuff.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's like everything's been moving smooth because I can use Forge to work on Foundry. Those kind of things. That's the one beauty of it. Building that tool first, it allows me to kind of use it to fix itself, so to speak. I just need to figure out what it needs to know so that it can do the Foundry work, and allow the user to not get their hands dirty type thing.
Cool.
Because then you won't have your mistake that you had. It will know for you. It's like, okay, I need to get the repo. It needs to go here. I need to create a branch so that your code doesn't pollute the main, and then it can handle the rest for you as well.
Great. All
So,
right. Anything else you want to talk about this week?
whew.
Yeah, that's a
um,
lot.
yeah, no, I think, like I said, we have a list to clean up, and such. I definitely want to, it's like, I want to use Forge so that I don't hit a week like it did last week where I got almost nothing done on BrainDrive because BrainDrive needs a ton, in my opinion. It's like, and in fact, that goes to my next conversation. We only have 6 minutes, but we'll try this. Because you especially need to be thinking about this. We were talking about agentic. And what does agentic mean as far as what we can pull off and like that? And I've had some doing some deep research, and the one mentality I've taken from the deep research so far, because it has tons of bad examples, is BrainDrive is uniquely poised in what it is right now. And it's one of the few tools that has an interface or a UI component that users can create on the fly however they want. And we as BrainDrive need to leverage that to do agentic behavior. And rather than think of agentic as what everybody else does, we almost have to adopt our own mechanics into BrainDrive to achieve the results that BrainDrive can do. For that, some ideas came up. Like we have the backend installer or backend plugins, we have front end plugins. We will have to have probably agentic plugins, and these will be plugin processes that run all the time. If you have it installed, you have it on, it'll sit there and churn, and this will give the functionality of when a page isn't up, it could still do stuff because that's part of agentic. You do not have to have it up. You do not have to have it running. It's just simply running for you, that page. The second thing is we need plugins that do not have to have a visual essence on the page. Right now, if you put a plugin on a page, it has something visual the user sees when they're on the front end part. We need something like, let's say it's just a summarizer. It doesn't need anything. You just, if anytime you have an output, it will instantly summarize it for you. Those kind of things, it's like that's just a case study example of stuff like that. But where it's not something visual that takes up screen space, it's a mechanic that happens for you. And then this gives you the ability that if you put like a good example, you have your Scout, which takes, here's a bunch of content. If you had this kind of instance there, it would automatically go, hey, here's a summarized version of what you just posted for me, just in case, you wanted to see what it looked like in that capacity. It just instantly handles it for you. You do not have to do anything extra. So the ability for a user to create and introduce these kind of plugins. And then once we start combining that, that is when your pages can start interacting without being ever on. You're just up. And then we get the pulse. And those kind of things become available because Pulse then would just simply look at your last few chats or that you've had, and it'll go, hey, that's a good idea. This would make it better, and start being a little more insightful rather than reactive. And for me, that's an entire agentic experience is no longer is the software only reactive, but rather it's part of the process and offering intuition into the direction.
And what needs to be done differently because it's brain drive?
Okay, OpenClaw, whatever the name is going by this week, I don't know, is a good example where almost all chats have been reduced to a terminal. It's crazy. It's like we've gone backwards and all like that, which is great, but the majority of users still want a front end at the end of the day.
Well, no, I mean they're using. I think one of the reasons people like OpenClaw is because you can talk to it via text, you can talk to it via Telegram, you can talk
Yeah,
to it via WhatsApp.
that's kind of what we need to do with BrainDrive as well. Where, let's say, a good example, we have a Telegram page that allows you to set up BrainDrive to communicate with through Telegraph. You can all of a sudden it's like now, okay, I want to attach my RAG to it so that I have a Telegram chatbot now because I loaded up my documents. And so all is by putting these little pieces together. Here's my Telegram communicator. Here's my page that handles all the information concerning that, and I'm gonna attach RAG into there. And now I have a bot on Telegram that is connected to my RAG information, so somebody can ask questions, and I can ask questions as well.
And
And
let's say that I'm already doing that on OpenClaw.
yep.
Why would I want to do it on brain drive instead?
Because now you have, because OpenClaw is pretty specific and seems to be like a bot type atmosphere. Maybe that's its goal, where BrainDrive is not just a bot type atmosphere, it is your user front end to all your knowledge. You can have multiple, it has a RAG there built for you to play with your librarian, connecting to your different projects and whatever data you want to put in there, it can start housing and completing. You have the ability to do searches into it and on a displayable front end that you might want to play with in different ways. Use Markdown. If you want to have it, you can see all the information like we do in our chat. If you get RAG chunks from it, you get to see, oh, I have 3 chunks from RAG. If it's thinking, okay, I can look at that information. The ability to easily through a mouse and be able to play with that is where BrainDrive will be able to excel. And of course, we'll have different user base. If you're just totally terminal and that's your thing, then OpenClaw might be for you for whatever reason, and nothing against. That's why everybody we have more than
I
one
don't,
software.
nothing that I'm seeing people are talking about terminal. They're all using it through these other interfaces.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So they have rather than developed the interface, they have said, okay, we're just going to be a middleman.
Right.
That's it. And you're stuck with whatever. So if you like Telegram, except for XYZ you didn't like about it, well, BrainDrive allows you to do this. But you get to have your front end, whatever you want. You can make a plugin. There's my unique little plugin for doing Telegram. This is what I see. My friends have whatever they see, and we're just talking through Telegram. So if somebody stumbles in through their normal Telegram interface, you're in your home environment, and that's what BrainDrive is.
Cool. All right, great. Anything else for this week?
Um, RAG. If I can get right my 9 things from RAG, and I can get a new production build, I will be very happy. And then my Foundry work.
Great. All right. With that, we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned AI system. We hope you'll join us here on the live stream, which is open to anybody to participate, as well as our community at community.braindrive.ai, where we post these recordings. And with that, we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.